of violence are a quest for identity. When you live out on the frontier, you have no identity. You're a nobody. Therefore, you get very tough. You have to prove that you are somebody. And so you become very violent. And so identity is always accompanied by violence. This seems paradoxical to you? That ordinary people find the need for violence as they lose their identities. So it's only the threat to people's identity that makes them violent. Terrorists, hijackers, these are people minus identity. They are determined to make it somehow, to get coverage, to get noticed. And this, I think, has been one of the big effects of the electric age. It has deprived people really of their private identity.
So that's what this is doing to me?
Yes. Everybody tends to merge his identity with other people at the speed of light. It's called being mass man. By the way, one of the big marks of the loss of identity is nostalgia. And so revivals on all hands in every phase of life today. Revivals of clothing, of dances, of music, of shows, of everything. We live by the revival. It tells us who we are or were. Separatisms are very frequent all over the globe at the present time. Every country in the world is loaded with regionalistic, nationalistic little groups.
I started this video off with that little clip because I thought it was probably the most closely that Marshall McLuhan got to Jordan Peterson's point of view. They have very similar backgrounds. They're both Canadian professors of a certain faith. I don't know what faith, it's Christianity, I believe, but which spectrum of it, I don't fucking know. I don't fucking care that much about finding that about. What I want to talk about is the similarities between these two men and more about Jordan Peterson in general, thoughts about how the media is coming at him like McLuhan. Why? I find it just freaking hilarious as all hell that people are comparing these two, because McLuhan, yes, he has strong thoughts on media and how it shaped our society, but he didn't really have any opinions on how it would shape, what the future would look like. Peterson has some very clear ideas of what the media landscape and political landscape, something McLuhan really didn't get into, but he probably hinted at all his rambly stream of consciousness talk, which he was known for. And Peterson sort of mirrors that in a lot of ways, if anyone noticed him. He talks, he thinks, he tries to respond appropriate to situations. He doesn't always do it, as there's a clip on recently with him being asked about the Jewish question, but fair to him, that's really a loaded question that could have even more of a shit show come down on him. A lot of alt-right people are coming down on him for not answering that, but I think it's fair. It's a big load to unpackage, and I wouldn't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But Peterson, everyone is coming down now, from PewDiePie to a lot of atheists online, about Peterson's faith, his feud with Sam Harris. McLuhan was also a Christian whose faith sort of served as a precursor to his ideals. See, the thing that I believe about faith is their concerns with faith isn't that you actually worship a certain God, that you don't actually believe in the God. He believes in I believe, that they believe in the social construct of religion, the community that it brings, the morals it instills in people, and probably their only concern, especially Peterson's concern with Sam Harris, is that atheists will not be able to cogel yeah, I know that's not a real word, into a faction that can adaptly mimic the church with its morals. There's plenty of problems to find in this, and I'm just gonna throw Peterson out there under the bus now to get some more
That
thoughts
took a
on this
vicious
issue.
hit by the late 1960s because the murderousness of Marxism had been clearly laid out as a doctrine. And that opened the door to this move by mostly French intellectuals to develop the postmodern philosophy, which has these advantages which we described, but also to use that as a screening tactic for allowing Marxism to transform into identity politics. The postmodernists is they say, oh, there's an infinite number of interpretations. And then the human part of them goes, okay, well, what am I supposed to do next then? Since there's an infinite number of choices. And the postmodernist says, well, my theory can't account for that. And then they say, well, back to Marxism. And so that's why I think there's this unholy alliance between the postmodernists and the neo-Marxists. It's because postmodernism is a dead end from the perspective of applicable wisdom. It leaves you bereft and nihilistic. And that's not good because people can't exist without a purpose. And so they sneak the Marxism through the back door.
Dialogue. The alternative to violence is dialogue, which is a kind of encounter interface with other people and situations. So in the same way, people are cooled off by media and by situations which require dialogue rather than just self-expression. Violence is a kind of self-expression. And so that the quest for identity, the person who is struggling to find out who am I, by all sorts of maladjustments, all sorts of quarrels, all sorts of encounters, such a person is a social nuisance, of course. But the quest for identity goes along with this bumping into other people in order to get to find out who am I, how much power can I exert, how much identity can I discover that I possess by simply banging into other people. And so that's what I had in mind when I said that the quest for identity is always a violent quest. It's a series of adventures and encounters that create all sorts of disturbance. I suppose, I don't think you have to go very far in literature for examples of it. I suppose Don Quixote. We're going back into the bicameral mind, which is tribal, collective, without any individual consciousness.
But it seems, Dr. Mcluhan, that this tribal world is not friendly.
Oh, no. Tribal people, one of their main kinds of sport is sort of butchering each other. It's a full-time sport in tribal societies.
But I had some ideas. We got global and tribal. We were going to become
the closer you get together, the more you like each other.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of that in any situation that we've ever heard of. That when people get close together, they get more and more savagely impatient with each other.
Well, why is that? Because of the nature of man, or
his tolerance is tested in those narrow circumstances very much. Village people aren't that much in love with each other. And the global village is a place of very arduous interfaces and very abrasive situations.
Self-expression is violence. That is freaking hilarious. That reminds me of the Kathy Newman interview with Peterson. That to express yourself, to really get to discuss things in a legitimate, free-minded way, that you need to be able to offend people. You need to occur this violence on them. And just the ridiculous nature of today's climate, where we can't talk to the left, the right, and even the middle can't talk to each other, is ridiculous. The divide between atheists and Christians, and even some of the more, I guess, progressive Muslims, I mean, let me not get into that bag of tricks. Can't talk to each other. The Jewish people, we're accusing each other. The alt-right's accusing the Jewish people of conspiracy with the Jewish question. The Christians have been fighting against the Muslims forever. excuse that slip of the tongue, and atheists and theists are at each other's throats saying, your philosophy is stupid, your philosophy. It does no good. We need to stop looking at the differences, in my opinion. And we need to see, both these men talk about a standard set of rules. And I understand why both of them are concerned with dog whistling being a concern. When you have multiple interpretations of everything out there, of course, someone's going to interpret someone's racist, someone's bigoted, someone's sexist. Okay? Look past that. We need to look past those things, those insults, and discuss the core issues of a lot of these issues without getting so heated, so emotional. I know that's hard for this current generation, even for me sometimes, but I try to do my best, and it seems like a lot of people aren't trying because the social norms sort of come down on those people who try to discuss issues. A lot of harassment occurs because we have a lot of groupthink, a lot of collectivism, and a lot of identity politics, which I hope my clips express that comes from the postmodernist movement. I'm not going to pretend to understand the whole picture, the whole big picture. I'm not going to pretend to understand that because I think anyone who believes or deluded enough to think that they understand the whole picture are idiots. The only thing we can do is try to listen to each other. And there is a sort of middle ground between the collective mindset and the individual mindset that I believe we need to hold in our heads for us to have any of these discussions. We need to formulate our own opinions on some subjects. But what the hell do I know? I'm more of a game and story geek, okay? This whole political landscape has only unfolded for me in the last few years, and frankly, the only reason I threw my hat into the ring is because some of my favorite comedians and comedic pieces are under fire. I've seen articles, videos saying Blazing Saddles couldn't be done nowadays. Why? Why not? Because it's racist. It's making fun of racist people, for Christ's sakes. That's the only example I can give, but I believe jokes should be free of expression. Okay? They create discourse. Sure, I have problems with skits on SNL that portray the Brexit voters as all dumb idiots, but it's just bullying tactics, in my opinion. Recently, I watched the Warski against Sargon, and they just came down on him. Yeah, he was being a dumbass. Semantics with the debate, discussion, and he really is fucking out of his depths with this liberals movement, but I don't disagree with him. Mainly because I'm not alt-right or I'm not a supporter of alt-right. I'm a supporter of free speech. I'm a supporter of individual perspectives. I don't believe people should be stuck in a box and put away, discarded like a lot of people in the media is. But this is probably rambling enough and long enough, so that's my third logic. Hope you have a good day. Bye.